I didn't think twice when they said she needed a kidney. She's your cousin, Ava, my mother said, her voice taut with the weight of tragedy. You're a match. God works in mysterious ways. Aubrey had always been the golden girl, my Aunt Renee's only child. Brilliant, beautiful, broken in all the right places so the family could rally around her. She was the type to collapse at dinner parties, cry over nothing, and still be called strong. I was the reliable one, the helper, the one who, as my Uncle Greg so lovingly put it, didn't ask for much. Maybe because I knew I wouldn't get it. When Aubrey's kidneys failed at 25, it was treated like a royal emergency. She had so many visitors, her hospital room looked like a pop-up florist. They didn't ask me to donate. They just assumed I would. You're O positive, Aunt Renee had said gently. It's like a miracle. No one asked how I felt. No one even said thank you when the results came back. Just relief, like they'd always known I'd come through. And I did. Because I loved my family. Or at least, I loved the idea of what I thought family was supposed to be. The last thing I remember before going under was the cold rush of anesthesia and the thought, she'll be okay now. That's all that matters. When I woke up, my throat was dry, my abdomen searing with a pain I hadn't imagined. My mother was there, but not for long. You were brave, she said. Now get some rest. We're heading back to Renee's to help Aubrey get settled. I blinked. They were leaving me? But I just got out of surgery. She looked at me like I'd asked something absurd. Well, sweetie, Aubrey's recovery is going to be really delicate. She needs the full house to be quiet and clean. I wasn't staying at the hospital for days. I'd only been approved for one night. After that, I was supposed to go home. But I didn't have one of my own. I was between leases, and Aunt Renee had said I could stay with them until I was back on my feet, except now, that offer was being silently revoked. We're thinking maybe it's better if you recover at a motel, she added. Just for a few days. Renee's really stressed and doesn't want extra noise. Extra noise. That's what I was now. I didn't cry. I didn't even speak. I nodded. Because I was still doped up and hurting, and the room felt like it was spinning sideways. It was a days in off the freeway. The sheets smelled like bleach and cigarette smoke, and the air conditioner wheezed like it had asthma. I lay in bed with stitches across my side and a bottle of generic painkillers that barely took the edge off. No visitors, no calls, just me. And the knowledge that a part of me, literally, now belonged to someone who couldn't be bothered to text. On the third day, I got a group message in the family chat. Welcome home, Aubrey. Our warrior girl is back. Come by tonight for cake and champagne. Family only. Family only. Not even an individual text. I didn't go. I sat alone with vending machine peanut butter crackers and stared at the cracked ceiling. I told myself I was overreacting, but then came the bill. I hadn't noticed it before, too out of it to check. But on day 6, the front desk called. You'll need to pay the next 2 nights in advance, the man said gruffly. Or we'll have to ask you to check out. I blinked. My mom said she'd cover. She gave a card that declined yesterday. My stomach turned. I called my mom. Mom, they said your card... Oh, she cut me off. Yeah, I had to cancel it. Fraud alert. Listen, can you handle it? We've already spent so much on Aubrey's aftercare. I could handle it. After giving up an organ. After being shoved out of their house like a bag of dirty laundry. I covered the next 2 nights with my own emergency savings. Then I packed my things. Slowly. Carefully. Every movement a reminder that something inside me was missing now. By the time I showed up at Aunt Renee's house again, I was off pain meds, stitched up, and 1 week into the quietest rage of my life, I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I didn't text or call. I simply walked up the driveway with my duffel bag, because technically I still had a right to be there. I'd been invited to stay until I found my own place, and I hadn't. Agreed to leave. The house was lit up like a celebration. Cars packed the curb, the blinds were open, and through them I saw balloons in soft gold and white, a cake on the counter, and Aubrey perched on the couch, surrounded like royalty, laughing, holding court. When I knocked, it was Aubrey who answered. She blinked. "Oh," she said flatly, arms still folded across her new silk robe. "You came." "I did," I replied, my voice calm. This was supposed to be where I recovered. She didn't move to let me in. Behind her, Aunt Renee appeared like she'd been summoned by scent. "Oh, honey, I thought you were still at the motel," she said, clearly uncomfortable. "You look pale. Have you eaten?" "Not really," I said. "I've been paying $92 a night to recover from donating my kidney. Alone. So no, haven't had much appetite." She flinched, but just for a second. "Maybe it's not the best time to talk," she said. "It's Aubrey's welcome home night. Can we do this tomorrow?" "I'm not here to talk," I said. "I'm here to sleep, in the guest room. The one I was told I could use." A beat of silence passed. Then Aubrey said, "We gave that room to Zane. He's working remotely now and he needed privacy." Zane. The second cousin who couldn't even name all the U.S. states, but had somehow gotten a remote job with a startup. I stared at them, the women who had once kissed my forehead and praised me for being so giving. Now, they couldn't even give me a mattress. "Then I'll take the couch," I said, stepping past Aubrey without waiting for permission. I dropped my bag and sat down. My side ached, my throat burned, but I sat there, back straight, refusing to leave. The room hushed around me. The cousins stopped laughing. The tension thickened like soup. They didn't argue, but the energy shifted. They didn't know what to do with me, because I wasn't playing my part anymore. That night, I overheard them whispering in the hallway. "She's making everyone uncomfortable," Aubrey hissed. "She's entitled," Aunt Renee whispered back. "Just because she gave something doesn't mean we owe her everything." "Exactly. She's acting like I didn't almost die," Aubrey said. "Like her sacrifice means more than my recovery." Something inside me snapped clean, not like a branch, quieter, deeper. I lay awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling, and I knew. They never saw it as a sacrifice. They saw it as an obligation, my role, the doormat, the side character in Aubrey's crisis movie. They didn't even see me as family anymore. Just useful, and now I wasn't even that. The next morning, I made eggs and coffee for myself. I didn't ask permission. I didn't wait to be offered anything. I ate alone. Then I packed my things. Aunt Renee came in, surprised. "You're leaving?" "Yeah," I said. "This place is too crowded." "Oh. Well, I hope you'll be okay." "I'm sure I will be," I said, and smiled. Better than okay. I didn't tell her I had a copy of the agreement, the text messages where she had promised to let me stay. I didn't tell her that my friend from college now worked at a legal clinic, or that my cousin Layla had started sending me screenshots of private family chats, the ones where they called me dramatic, clingy, even manipulative. I didn't say any of that, because it wasn't time yet. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like a scream. It looks like silence, and silence gives them room to expose themselves. 2 weeks after I left their house, I was back on my feet, not physically at 100% yet, but mentally sharper than I'd been in years. And now, I had time, and information, and allies. Layla, my cousin from Bossain, Dad's side, had been quietly sending me messages from the family group chat. She'd stayed silent during the whole donor drama, as they now called it, but not because she agreed. I just didn't want them turning on me too. She admitted over coffee, but Ava, the way they talk about you, it's disgusting. You need to see it. She forwarded everything, screenshots, voice notes, comments. She's always been emotionally needy. She only did it for attention. Honestly, we should have found a donor who wouldn't hang it over our heads. I sat there, hands trembling, eyes wide with disbelief. These were the people I gave a piece of my body to, and they were painting me as the villain. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was something better. Coldly awake. The legal CDAT. The clinic. My friend Diego leaned back in his chair and raised an eyebrow as I explained. They kicked you out after surgery, even though you had an agreement to stay? He asked. I have the texts, I said, sliding my phone across the desk. They promised housing. I was recovering from major surgery, and I paid for the motel myself after they declined. Their card. Diego nodded slowly. There's no formal lease, but this could qualify under implied housing support, especially since your donation was based on good faith. He looked at me. You thinking lawsuit? No, I said. I want to scare them. A little reminder that I'm not the one who should be afraid. He grinned. So, strategic fire? Or full scorched earth? Just enough heat to make them sweat. The letter 3 days later, a formal notice was hand-delivered to Aunt Renee's house. Not from me, from the clinic's affiliated pro bono law group. It cited potential breach of duty of care following a medical agreement and emotional and financial abandonment post-surgery. It wasn't a lawsuit. It was a warning. But the kind that came printed on crisp legal letterhead, with carefully chosen phrases like documented suffering due to implied agreement violations, pattern of exploitation, considering next steps. If reconciliation is not reached, it was enough. They panicked. The calls. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Aunt Renee. Ava, what is this? Why would you involve lawyers? We're family. My mom. I told you this would happen if you didn't just let things go. Aubrey. Seriously? You're going to ruin my recovery over a couch. Grow up. But there was one message that made me smile. A private DM from someone I hadn't spoken to in months. Uncle Todd. I heard what happened. Just so you know, not everyone thinks you're wrong. Some of us always knew Aubrey was a manipulator. People were starting to divide, not because I'd begged, but because the truth has a way of seeping through silence like smoke under a door. The interview. What they didn't know was I had also been invited to speak, anonymously, on a podcast called Blood Ties Real Family Betrayals. They'd heard about me through Layla, who followed the show and had submitted a summary of my story. The producer reached out. I used a pseudonym. They distorted my voice, but the details were unmistakable. She donated an organ, and they left her to recover alone. No thank you, no care, not even a bed. They called her selfish for asking to stay in a home she helped save someone's life to protect. The episode aired a week later. It went viral. The fallout begins. He didn't say their names, but people knew. Because family secrets never stay hidden long, especially when the ones who kept them are used to shouting their own praise. Renee's neighbor stopped by and asked if she was okay. Aubrey's old friend unfollowed her on social media. Her boss, a boutique PR agency CEO, left a curious comment under one of her posts. "We care about integrity. Hope you're healing the right way." It wasn't revenge yet. Not really. But it was the first shift in power, and they felt it. I could tell. Because they stopped texting altogether. But that was fine. I was just getting started. Would you like me to continue with part 8 next? Things are about to take a darker turn, as Ava prepares to expose the family publicly, with leverage they never expected. Months passed. The pain in my side faded to a dull, manageable ache. I'd learned how to sleep on my left again. I'd moved into a tiny apartment with squeaky floors and slanted windows that caught the golden hour just right. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I didn't check the family group chat anymore. Layla did that for me. Every so often she'd text, "Aubrey just posted a throwback with the caption, 'Some people give to feel superior, others give out of love.' Or, 'Renee's neighborhood newsletter just dropped. She wasn't featured, again.' The podcast episode, the one where I told my story, passed 600,000 streams. People wrote in, strangers, survivors, donors, women, men, people who had been used by those they loved most. Thank you for speaking out. I thought I was the only one who gave and got nothing. And while the episode never named them, it named the wound, and everyone who carried one recognized it. The final move. It was a Friday in early spring when I got the call. "Hi, Ava. This is Janelle from Modern Philanthropy. We're running a feature on women under 30 who've changed lives in unseen ways, and we'd love to highlight you. Your podcast episode was incredibly moving." I almost laughed. They wanted to honor me. The girl who once sat in a motel alone, with a fresh surgical scar and no place to sleep. I agreed to the feature. Not to show them up. Not for revenge. But because they'd erased me. And I wanted to exist again, in my own voice. The article went live the next week. My full name, my photo, my story, a clean, powerful headline. She gave her kidney to save a family member. Then they left her at a motel. The article trended for 2 days. It was shared, stitched, quoted. And within 48 hours, I got the only message that ever made. "Me cry Aubrey. You ruined everything. I have to leave work. People are whispering. How could you?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back, "I gave you a kidney. You gave me silence. Consider us even." I blocked her. Epilogue. Whole Nessie never filed the lawsuit. I never showed up at their house. I never even answered the messages from Renee begging for me to take the article down, because by then I had something better. Peace. Self-worth. And an inbox full of messages from people who now saw me not as dramatic, not as selfish, but as strong. I didn't win by burning them down. I won by surviving them. By walking away with less kidney, maybe, but more self than I ever had before. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.